Good morning, everybody. Good morning, everybody. Welcome back after a wonderful 4th of July where we were celebrating the birth of our nation, made possible by so many veterans who have served our country. And so we think today is apropos that we're here to announce our new updated strategy to achieve functional zero in the veteran community. I'm joined today, I am Pete Nahara, President and CEO of the United Way of the Plains. Today you will also be hearing from Mayor Whipple, Abel Frederick, the Vice President for Community Impact here at the United Way of the Plains, Chandra Miller, the Interim Director of the VA here in Wichita, and of course, Pete Meitzner, our County Commissioner. And so with that, I'd like to welcome all of you here today, where we're going to talk about a collective community plan to specifically address our strategy to achieve functional zero homelessness in the veteran community. As a veteran myself, I have a very special interest in this project. As all of you know, Wichita is the home of McConnell Air Force Base and an additional 20,000 other veterans who have decided to make this community their home. I think they have stepped up as volunteers to protect our freedoms and our American way of life, that I think it's only reasonable and maybe a responsibility for all of us to step up and help these veterans make a transition back into our community and be productive members of our society. A couple things you may not know, that currently of the 350 available permanent supportive housing spaces we have, 208 are occupied by veterans. And of the 140 rapid rehousing spaces we have available, 25 are occupied by veterans. In both of these cases, we're doing what we can to transition them into stable, permanent housing so that they can be like all of you as productive members of our society. Homelessness is a complex social issue, and it will take a collective community response to bring it to functional zero. But if you didn't know, other communities in this country have done it, and I believe in Wichita's ability to do it as well. No one can outdo Wichita and our entrepreneurial spirit, and we're going to bring it to functional zero with the help of everybody here and with the help of all of you. So on behalf of the city and our county, I'd like to say how proud the United Way is to serve as the lead agency for the continuum of care that encompasses over 100 different partners in government, in business, in community leaders, and in just everyday citizens like all of us working together towards a common purpose, and that's functional zero homelessness, particularly in the veteran community. So today's announcement demonstrates that even as Wichita's United Way is celebrating 100 years of serving the people of South Central Kansas, we will continue to evolve to meet societal needs and changes, just like everybody you'll hear from today, for another 100 years. At this time, it's my pleasure to introduce Mayor Brandon Whipple.
Thanks, Pete. I'm Mayor Brandon Whipple, and I'm joined here with Councilmember Tuttle and also members of our homeless outreach team from our Wichita Police Department. Thank you all for being here. So today I stand beside a coalition of service providers to address a pressing issue that demands our attention and compassion. And of course, that's homelessness among our esteemed veterans. It is a matter that strikes at the very core of our duty to those who have selflessly served our nation. And we owe it to these brave individuals to ensure that they are not left abandoned and forgotten on the streets that they once defended. Yet far too many find themselves without a roof over their heads, struggling to find stability and hope in their post-service lives. And as mayor of the City of Wichita, I believe we're way too good of a community to allow our veterans to remain unhoused. So that's why today we've come together to not dwell on the problem, but instead to focus on the solution. And by working together, we have the power to bring homelessness among our veterans to functional zero. So this goal will require not only collaboration, but of course dedication and the unwavering support of both our city government, our community partners, and our county government, and of course, individuals like you. So together we can ensure that our veterans receive the respect, the care, and the opportunities that they deserve so they can rebuild their futures. And they deserve nothing less, and we owe it to them. So thank you for allowing me to be here, a part of this. Thank you for allowing the city to be a part of this. And I'd like to introduce our local government counterparts over at the county level, Chairman Pete Meissner.
Thank you, Mayor, and wow, what a great crowd. So, functional zero, was that even in your vocabulary as recently as a couple years ago? So, thanks to United Way, we've been talking about homelessness a lot, but we're now seeing tangible steps being taken thanks to the leadership of United Way and the continuum of care. And so my thanks to the United Way and all of our government partners and our business partners. Again, it's one of those cases where maybe we're all on the same page trying to achieve a goal. And when we work together, things start happening in a tangible way. So we're seeing more action than talk right now, and I think that's positive stuff. So arriving at functional zero, obviously you're hearing that, and the veterans world is an important part that you all have been hearing about. And even sometimes Sally and others, the veterans may not even want to admit that they're veterans because they've got an area, pride or whatever. So it's helpful that I'm learning a lot about this, and thanks to people like Steve and Pete that are helping me learn so I can help deliver the message in a positive way to get this stuff accomplished. The Homeless Task Force, I'm here representing Commissioner Ryan Beatty, who represents the county on the Homeless Task Force, and I think Ryan's a great addition to help do that. He's got a lot of passion about it, and that's very helpful. He had another important meeting this morning. I want to go back and say I'm not sure that your meeting was more important than this one, but that's all right. So anyway, another kind of a key thing is that Sedgwick County, we pushed through the 18th Judicial District. We've set up a Veterans Court that will be open in September. And so now when there's a little bit of a crime that can be manageable, it's going to go to a Veterans Court for more treatment-related stuff than going to jail or serving time. So again, just showing you how we all play our role at driving the lane that we can to help achieve functional zero. So with that, and I see Nate back there running the hot team, so functional zero, if we get there, Nate, you're gonna have to close down the hot team and go get another job. That's my goal. I think there's some openings in the police department, so you might have to start getting your resume ready. Anyway, Nate, you and your team, known you for a long time. Thanks for all you do with the hot team. So thank you for letting me say a few words, and next up on the batting order is Abel Frederick. Thank you. Thanks again.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning. Y'all got to do better than that. Act like you're at least halfway like me. Good morning, everybody. Good morning. Thank you all for joining and partnering with us today. As we strive to bring our unhoused community to functional zero, where the number of people experiencing homelessness never exceeds the community's capacity to move people into permanent housing, we understand that we must address each unhoused population with strategies that works for those groups. Some of the information you have heard today highlights the access that our veteran population has to our services. But we still have populations such as youth, families, and those who are chronically homeless. We will address those populations one by one. We will ensure that we have good data to know that everyone is accounted for, and we will implement strategies that serve all those populations. The key stakeholders in addressing homelessness for our community are committed to this initiative and are working to address this issue by having housed 1,168 of our neighbors in 2022 and 1,272 of our neighbors in 2021. Everyone plays a role in making this critical goal achievable. Our government, our nonprofits, our elected officials, our service providers, our landlords, our database managers, our care coordinators, and especially our law enforcement.
As the lead agency for the federally funded Continuum of Care, United Way of the Plains plays several roles in this project. We track data alongside the VA. We integrate that data into the HMIS database, and we host the veteran case conferencing that takes place every 2 weeks so that we can ensure service providers discuss current barriers and how we resolve them. The progress is being made in each case by case, individual by individual. We're going to start generating some monthly reports to keep everyone abreast of what's going on, and those reports will involve all our key stakeholders so we can continue to course correct and maximize our resources to the best of our ability. Before I leave you today, I want to send some thank yous. The first thank you I want to send is to our COC agencies, those service providers. You are often asked very difficult questions to very complex problems, and you are never told thank you. Thank you. To our COC team in-house here that we have built up within the past 2 years, thank you. You've taken on a very difficult task. You've partnered with this community, our government, our businesses, our other nonprofit leaders, and you've ensured that we'll reach this goal of functional zero for veterans by 2024. So thank you. As I said earlier, we will address population by population with different strategies to ensure that this community reaches functional zero. Thank you.
Well, good morning, everyone. I'm Sally Stang. I'm the Housing and Community Services Director for the City of Wichita. I'm just overwhelmed by all the people who showed up here today for this important announcement. So during this week of Independence Day, we celebrate the freedoms and equality that define our nation. It's crucial that we reflect on the plight of those who bravely served our country, our veterans who are experiencing homelessness. While we gather with family and friends and fireworks illuminate the sky, let us remember that thousands of veterans across our great land do not have the comfort of a stable home. We are aware of 32 such veterans right here in Wichita and the surrounding area. These are individuals who selflessly put their lives on the line to protect our freedoms, and yet find themselves battling homelessness. Ending veteran homelessness is not just a moral imperative. It is a duty we owe those who have sacrificed so much. It is an opportunity to show gratitude and honor to those who've worn the uniform and defended our way of life. Furthermore, it is imperative that we debunk the stereotypes surrounding homelessness. Let us challenge those misconceptions and recognize that homelessness can happen to anyone, including those who have served our country with honor. By fostering empathy and understanding, we can cultivate a society where every veteran is treated with dignity and respect. Homelessness among veterans is a complex issue with no easy solutions, but together we can make a difference. So we have a call to action for all Wichitans to assist us in meeting the needs of veterans without a home. We will be posting relevant statistics on our website at wichita.gov/Homes for Heroes, as well as specific asks to the community for resources to make this possible, including the need for rental units from landlords who are willing to lease from veterans coming from homelessness. Those veterans come with rent assistance from various sources, as well as case management from the VA and other service providers here in our community. Other needed resources include household goods that can help make a housing unit into a home, as well as moving assistance, job training, groceries, and more. The community can assist in many ways beyond donating needed goods. They can help us identify other veterans we haven't yet identified that are experiencing homelessness. They can volunteer at the next VA stand down that's going to happen on September 8th. And they can participate in the annual point in time count that's occurring next January 2024. The City and County Commissioned Homelessness Task Force will help identify and deploy resources to fulfill this goal, and once achieved, will help the community in reaching functional zero for the next targeted demographic, for those experiencing chronic homelessness. As we celebrate our nation's independence, let us reaffirm our commitment to those who have fought for our freedom. Let us strive for a future where no veteran sleeps on the streets, where every hero has a safe and stable place to call home. Together, we can make a difference. By standing united, we can ensure that the sacrifices made by our veterans are honored not just in words, but in actions. This Independence Day, let us all pledge to end veteran homelessness, for it is a cause worthy our collective effort. Thank you so much. Next, we have Chandra Miller from the VA. Thank you.
Good morning, everybody. It is such a pleasure to be here today. Of all the words that can be used when describing a veteran of the United States Armed Forces, noble ideas like bravery, honor, service, and sacrifice, the last we should apply to our nation's heroes is homeless. These citizens volunteered to serve their country, our country, and now it's our duty and our privilege to serve them. The United States Department of Veterans Affairs is fully committed to ending homelessness among these Americans we so proudly serve. We have made significant progress in recent years. Last year, nationwide, VA housed more than 40,000 homeless veterans, exceeding our goal by more than 6%. Locally, we contributed to that effort by providing housing for 115 veterans experiencing homelessness, exceeding our goal for the year by nearly 12%. Since 2020, the number of veterans experiencing homelessness has fallen by 11%. Obviously, there's still a lot of work to do. VA's focus is threefold. One, conduct coordinated outreach to proactively seek out veterans in need of assistance. 2, connect homeless and at-risk veterans with housing solutions, health care, community employment services, and other required support and resources. And finally, 3, collaborate with federal, state, and local agencies, employers, housing providers, faith-based and community nonprofits, and others to expand employment and affordable housing options for veterans with assisting homelessness. Locally, we're doing all of those. Most importantly, we've partnered with the City of Wichita, Sedgwick County, United Way of the Plains, and other community stakeholders to collaborate on reaching functional zero veteran homelessness. Due to the dynamic nature of homelessness, functional zero defines success by how many people are experiencing homelessness at any given time. This requires constant adaptation to the changing dynamics of homelessness in the community and assisting people to avoid becoming homeless in the first place. Veterans, if you are homeless or at immediate risk of becoming homeless, call the National Call Center for Homeless Veterans at 877-48-VET. Again, that's 877-424-3838 for assistance. You can also call or visit your local VA medical center where VA staff are ready to help. I just want to thank you for the opportunity to speak on this important topic, and thank you to all of our partners for contributing to the fight against veteran homelessness. It is our great pleasure to work with you to successfully achieve this goal. Thank you.
That concludes our formal remarks. At this time, we'll take any questions if there are any. Yes, ma'am.
I believe Sally probably said this number already, so more of a point of clarification, but the latest point in time count, how many people identified as veterans in that count?
So our last discussion, we were at 32. 18 of those had already been issued HUD VASH vouchers and were already on the street looking for units. I can also tell you 3 of those people are over 70 years old. Another 9 are between 60 and 70. This is the type of data that we're going to make available on our website as we make asks to find units and resources to help people become housed. So thank you.
Any other questions?
So the goal is to get to functional zero. Is there a specific timeline for this? What are we looking at in terms of trends within a year, a couple years? What's the timeline of that?
Thank you for the question. Yes, it is our goal to reach functional zero by the end of 2024. I honestly believe we can get those 32 people housed by the end of this year, but in order for us to qualify for reaching functional zero, we have to prove that we didn't just come together, get these people housed, and then as people come in, they fall into homelessness. We're going to have to prove that we've got a system in play that as new veterans enter into homelessness, it's brief and non-reoccurring, and that we have systems in place to quickly move them into housing.
So we have this partnership in place. Are there any new programs that any one of these organizations, either the city, the county, the VA, are there any new things that are going to be put in place to ensure that that number?
I think all of the participating agencies are making adjustments to their priorities and their processes. For example, in our shop, we actually have a dedicated person who's also a veteran, Garen Van Ness, who's here with us today. He's been assigned to really corral all of the activities associated with our VASH vouchers, where we partner with the VA, and beyond that, to coordinate with coordinated entry to make sure that when we have someone who's been identified, that they're being brought entirely through the system and reporting all of that information back. So and then of course, this is an effort where we really need the assistance from the community, right? We need to identify more housing units for folks. We need to make sure that we have the resources to make those housing units a home.
I'm going to make one quick point. I'm Kenny from I'm the homeless program supervisor. Jump right in there.
Sure.
I just wanted to also reiterate the expansion of healthcare services for veterans. We've expanded services for those who are non-healthcare eligible. And so to meet this goal, we have to get veterans access to those treatment services. So we have staff from the homeless program. So veterans who are not healthcare eligible, they can still come into the services. They can still call the 1-800 number. They can still get access to housing. And so all the services that they need for getting into housing, we can provide those to those veterans. So I just want to make that point of clarification for everybody so they know. Yeah.
And I was going to just add one other new program at the Continuum of Care is our Housing Navigator program, where under Steve Burton, Cole Schneiders, we have hired 3 additional people who meet with veterans specifically, along with everybody you heard here, to understand their current challenges and match them to the specific resource available to house them. And that is seeing great success person by person. And as Sally said, I think the community is on track to get functional zero and veterans, and then we're moving to the next demographic.
Can somebody run us kind of through the process, how this will start from first, I guess, identifying those folks that need and kind of getting them up to hopefully permanent housing?
Well, I'll start, but Sally may know more of the answer, or Abel Frederick. You heard the point-in-time count, and you heard the homeless database system. So in January, this community counts the best it can and gets a snapshot of how many people are unhoused. We enter it into a database system that is shared with dozens of partners in our shelters, our law enforcement, our government, so everybody has the same view of who is out there without a home and what we're doing to navigate them into a home. And so having that data that Sally was quoting back is because so many people are counting, and Steve Burton and his team are watching this in a database with the Continuum. Sally, did you want to add anything to that? I mean, that's the starting point, right, the entry. Yes, sir.
Do you believe that the government, both state and federal, are doing enough to help solve this issue?
I can't opine on that. I do believe, though, you heard, I don't think there's anybody in America who doesn't care about the program, and they're doing whatever they can with the resources they have, for sure. I think Wichita has a generous heart. Wichita in the Midwest punches way above its weight in all things charity. At the United Way, we do so many other things, but when we call for help, this community responds. And so, as the mayor was speaking to, we haven't seen an issue that galvanized every constituency from government to business to nonprofits when it comes to homelessness here in Wichita. And so we're riding a wave of momentum, and we're going to convert that energy into impact.
Can I just say a couple words about that question? I think a lot of what we're going to see is really the synthesizing of different services from not just the nonprofit level, but as was mentioned, from the federal government and also the state government. I think that with the VA here, it's an indication that there are services that are funded by the federal government that we can actually integrate at a more local level and even come alongside and hopefully make those services more effective. So really good question, because a lot of times it takes a lot just to make different levels of government actually work together in unison. We definitely can do that, but here in Wichita, what makes us different is how the community comes together with the nonprofit sector, with the business sector, just with community partners who want to help us achieve such a noble goal as ending or getting to functional zero when it comes to veteran homelessness. So good question. I think a lot of it is not just the services, but also make sure those services are accessible to people who are experiencing homelessness.
Yes, sir. Did you have a question?
Yeah, I want to make sure I'm getting the history right. I believe it's my understanding that the trends of veteran houselessness here in Wichita kind of go against the grain or go against what the national trend is. I want to make sure that that's accurate and kind of if we've been seeing that uptick historically in the last couple of years.
I think, Abel, you know the number?
I can jump into.
Because I know we are going down. Veterans are going down. I know.
Yeah, so as far as veteran homelessness goes, we are doing a better job of outreaching veterans and getting them into some sort of permanent supported housing, and the numbers have trended down lately. And so we actually have national goals that track these numbers on a regular basis as well. And so we're kind of, in our community, we're doing, I think, far and above better than we've done in the past, and it has to do with everybody here in this room. I think if you're a part of veteran case conferencing, I know this isn't good for the cameras, but raise your hand if you're part of veteran case conferencing. I mean, we got hands all over the room. So if we have a whole group of community providers that have globbed onto this goal, and we have lots of different players involved, and so the trend is down. So to answer your question, as far as exact numbers, that's what will be posted on the website. The community can see kind of the movement and how we're making some inroads in this goal. So yeah, hope that answers your question.
And look, as we do person by person, if we come across a barrier, this collective works to change that barrier. If we run out of a resource, the community comes together to know what resource we need to provide or where we're short. But it starts with the data, and we're really pleased that we're off to a great start. Any other questions?
Kind of run us through how this came to fruition. It's obviously all these different agencies have already been kind of doing some of this, but now you guys are working a little bit more tighter together. Run us through kind of how that came about. And
So I have the honor not only to be the city's housing director, but at this time I'm also the board chair for the Continuum of Care. And I think some structural changes within our Continuum of Care is actually getting us having deeper conversations, rowing in the same direction. We have had great community partners and members of the community trying to address homelessness, but in a little bit of chaos because everybody's going in their own direction. And so now we're really trying to corral everyone and get everyone rowing in the same direction so that we can have a deeper impact. And this is going to be a collaborative effort. This is not on any one group's shoulders. And to get it done, we're going to have to communicate. We're going to have to be comfortable outside of how we've always done things and get out of our own silos and work together and get it done. And we're going to get it done. Like I said, those 32 people, we want them housed this year. And then we can prove that we have a system in play so that we can claim functional zero for our community. So, thank you.
Any other questions?
I guess, how do you stop the possibility of your resources becoming overwhelmed? I know there's been other cities who, when somebody else launches an initiative like this, decide, hey, let's take our folks and ship them over there so they're no longer our problem. How do you stop that from happening, and how do you make sure that people are still getting the quality of care and the proper process to
Yeah, I'll start first, but maybe the mayor, Sally, or anybody else can follow up. By having the database system and case management, we're ensuring the success of the placement so that they're not just being displaced and end up back on the street, right? That's not the goal at all. And what Sally was saying, everybody's got good ideas, but now we're coming together around one central idea on how we can end functional zero, bring homelessness to zero in the veteran population. But it's through the database that we continue to track to ensure it's not artificial, that it's long-term and permanent in that regard.
I can jump in. And it's really a collaborative effort of building upon the work that most of the folks in this room have been already doing. When it comes to making an announcement like this, it's not only dedicating resources from the city and also from the VA and from the different levels of government, but make sure that you got more folks at the table. And that's one of the ways that we found success here in Wichita that separates us from other cities, is it's not just one organization or elected leaders over here or there. It's basically if everyone's working on the same project together, it adds accountability and it adds a structure, allows that project to continue to work towards a shared goal and become more adaptive if for some reason, let's say a funding source or a resource winds up no longer being available, then having more people at the table with the shared goal allows more of those resources to be replenished. So good question, but it's one that we're going to take very serious. We do believe that Wichita is too good of a city to have folks who have defended our freedoms now living unhoused. So by making that a priority, it's going to be reflected in our budgeting, and it's also going to be reflected, of course, in our participation in this project.
Yes, sir.
You talked a lot about what the official agencies and groups are doing to help solve this problem, but more broadly, what can, if anything, what can the people of Wichita themselves do to help solve this issue?
Yeah, I think Sally talked about a couple things, and I'll let her reiterate it. But first, we ask all the citizens to volunteer with the United Way and any of the local providers that are helping place veterans. That's just your time and attention. Secondly, you can also pledge your treasure with a small donation to help these service providers put people into stable housing in that regard. Sally has some other points when it comes to our affordable housing policies, our landlord support, things like that.
Thank you, Pete. Yes, that's my key, right? Right now, our biggest gap is housing units that are willing to take people coming from homelessness, people who could have some challenging backgrounds. But with them comes case management and rent assistance to help make them successful. And you'll see changes in models where we're not, in many instances, we're not just tying an individual with a case manager, we're tying them to a team to be able to fill gaps that weren't able to be filled in the past. But we have to address this issue of affordable housing in our community is very broad, right? It's not just affecting our homeless population, but imagine it's challenging at every level. Imagine how challenging it is for someone coming from homelessness. So we continue to evaluate our policies, our procedures. We're trying to attract additional housing development, encourage more landlords to participate, working with agencies, and I've challenged them recently to say, you can't find landlords, how about become one? How about look at resources on how you can build your own housing, set your own occupancy standards, and house the people that we're trying to house. We're in a circumstance in which resources are there. We have state housing tax credits that come along, federal tax credits. We need to encourage more housing development. And then also make sure that when we are partnering with landlords, my biggest concern is that we have resources available to that landlord when they have a problem. The worst thing that we can do is make a promise to a landlord that we're going to assist if there's an issue and then not answer the phone. right? And so there is a need. There's a need for a 24/7 service center in this community. And it is something that we're working on. And we're working on that right now. But housing units, to me, is our biggest gap. Thank you.
Can I have one quick point? Sure. If I get a chance to dote on my staff, I can do that. So we, at the VA, if you're a landlord out there and you have a unit, you can be rest assured you're actually going to not only have a veteran with housing assistance from the city and a whole level of support, you also have case management staff, as Sally mentioned. And I can just tell a quick story. Last week, I had 5 staff show up at a veteran's house after a landlord had an issue with that veteran. All 5 of them showed up, spent the whole day in the hot sun helping this veteran address the issue that could lead to them losing housing. So when we're saying you're getting access to federal government services, like it's top-notch work. So I just implore landlords, friends of landlords, friends of landlords to get out there and contact us at the VA so we can help our veterans get off the streets, have an accessible unit for them. And so that's a big ask. And so if you know of anybody, please send them to the website. We've got lots of information for them to look over. So I'm done plugging.
Yes, any other questions? Any other questions? Well, with that, let me be the first to invite all of you back within a year, I hope, where we're celebrating the achievement of functional zero in our veteran population, thanks to all of you. So, see you soon.